Hello, everyone. Yep, thanks, Shamin, for the introduction. I trust that everyone had a very good lunch. I had 3 bowls of laksa, so I'm feeling a bit tired at this juncture. So today with the very limited time we have, I'm going to go through a bit of like what's happening in DeFi and how it associates with Tranchess. Maybe before I move along, I want to explain that what Tranchess is, just so that you all know the relevance of it. It is a structured liquid staking and asset tracking protocol. I think our ambition, other than providing to the native digital assets or crypto group or people, we also hope to be able to converge both DeFi and TradFi, kind of like the best of both sides. My background and also the team, a lot of us coming from tech, from Google, from Twitter, while the part about finance, we are mostly asset managers or sales trading background from the financial markets. So this is in brief about this, but let's not look too much at Tranchess for now. We're going to look at how DeFi is at this juncture. So we're going to first of all go through today's agenda. We're going to talk about the DeFi overview, where it is now exactly, what's dominating the DeFi background. We're going to talk a bit about liquid staking, but also what is actually beyond liquid staking. I'm sure everyone knows liquid staking and how much dominance it has in the DeFi sort of a space, but what's actually beyond liquid staking? We're going to touch a bit also about the regulations in DeFi, or rather what regulations is actually not there to govern DeFi. It's more of an assumption from what's existing now currently in the regulations that govern more trading licenses and also exchanges and so on. Obviously, because we are in Singapore, we'll also have a look at how Singapore is helping to shape the future of digital assets and DeFi. We'll finally end off with a DeFi, TradFi kind of a convergence exploration and how actually Tranchess come together in that holistic picture. So this is a quick overview of like how the landscape of DeFi is. I'll let you all read the numbers, but I think something that we can see in terms of market cap is 42.6 billion and total TVL lock of 48.6 billion. We know that this is a far cry from what we have from before, 1-2 years back. What I can say is that it's actually a good period because a lot of building is going on at the back. And previously, we do have a lot of bad actors, we do have a lot of inefficiencies, but now with time, these are being corrected, and I think we can emerge a much stronger. Something that we also need to take note, liquid staking is 48% of the market. Is that healthy? Or what can we actually look to improve from here? What are the other kind of like entrance of DeFi protocols can excite and maybe continue to build on DeFi? On the growth part, I think maybe this is a bit of excitement for everyone. The expected growth, a compound annual growth, is about 46% from now to about 2030. So if we are looking at how this space will look to expand and what are the possibilities, now is probably a good time to examine it. The last point I think is of interest to a lot of people who might not be listening to this before is the fact that real world assets is becoming kind of like an excitement and a discussion point. So real world asset actually increased 8% from a year on year before. Now, what are real world assets? We also try to look at it a bit later on. DeFi before versus now, I'll leave you all to look at how the timeline is. But maybe I would want to draw a more quick anecdote from before. After the fast growth in terms of DeFi, 2017, 2018, 2019, and maybe into DeFi summer in 2020, I think what I do not miss the most was when you can actually take out a 6-pager PowerPoint and you go to a VC and you can actually get funding from it. So in a way, I'm glad that moment and that time is over because now there's a lot more scrutiny into like what is really your project about. Everyone is looking a bit more in depth on who's the founder, what's your background, and also whether you have an MVP. So these are actually very important for us to continue building DeFi and be credible to AIs or institutions down the road. DeFi now, I think, is much more exciting than before. We have decentralized exchanges, which obviously is a very hot topic and still something that is ongoing. I had thought that people would be the VC will already be tired of looking at the number of decentralized exchanges that's coming out. But recently, a project that I was looking on was actually looked upon quite favorably by some of the bigger VCs, and I was kind of intrigued by it because I already thought that they would have probably see endless decentralized exchanges before this. But obviously, it's still something that is going on hot. What I maybe want to draw your attention to is derivatives and structured products, RWAs, and also insurance. We all know for a fact that, okay, who are the next wave of people coming? They are probably from traditional finance, outside institutions, or even accredited investors in the real world. They may struggle a bit with you just telling them about liquid staking and maybe even about crypto. But structured products has been a space that has been existing in finance assets for a very long time, be it equity, commodities, or be it foreign exchange. So for them to know a product and then to get to know the underlying is actually quite much easier. So maybe everyone can have a thinker about that to try and work from a product standpoint to reach out to a different audience. Insurance, I think, was also one part when I spoke to people from institutions that they would like to have more insurance available on DeFi. Now, there's probably a lot of insurance on custody in real world of crypto assets, but DeFi is very much lacking. Even the ongoing kind of coverage on DeFi is probably limited to per protocol between 3 to 5%. So if we want to actually have increase in numbers or a bit more of a safety net for people who's coming in, insurance is probably something that we need to focus a bit of attention on as well. Now, what's beyond DeFi? I think we know liquid staking and so on. Liquid staking is probably the hottest topics. I'm sure everyone know Lido, Rocket Pool, and I hope that you all know Tronchess as well. Tronchess is also a provider of liquid staking on Ethereum as well as on BNB chain. The difference in which I think what we have to come on with liquid staking is not just a pure liquid staking protocol anymore. On Tronchest, for example, you will be at the same time get leverage of 2 times and also enjoy being in a stable coin fund, if so you want to choose. So being in the same ecosystem, if you choose to switch between leverage, non-leverage, and also money market fund, we do offer that. And that's something unique offered by Tranchess. Decentralized exchanges I've touched on, borrow and lending, I think we all know. I think structured products is something that is a focus next round. Why? A lot of people have been asking like, okay, you have the yield portion from liquid staking. What are you going to do? Are you just going to be repeatedly doing borrowing, switch to underlying and then stake it again, borrow, do this a few rounds? Is that all that you can do? No. You can actually use the yield to be purchasing structured products, which can give you maybe an additional 5 to 15 or 20% per annum. And these products, the underlying could be options. And in respect of time, I'm not going to go into details for that. But we can have a discussion of it at the Tranchess Cafe on the 3rd floor if you have some time. Regulations in DeFi, or rather the lack of, I think we have seen a lot of regulations revolving around getting licensed for trading activities. This is happening in Europe. I recall Binance got its first license from France in last year, and since then it has 7 licenses across the globe, and even including Dubai recently. I've seen like in Hong Kong, Hashkey and also OSL having the first trading license around, and a lot of these are centered around trading. So I was very happy when the mid of this year we started to see MiCA, where it happened in Europe and is tailoring a set of rules to govern digital assets and crypto in the whole of Europe. And Singapore also recently announced the stablecoin regulation. So with the clearer kind of a setup for rules and regulation, what it means to say that moving from here is not bad for digital assets, not bad for crypto. In fact, because of the clearer definition, corporates AIs will be able to come in. Most of the time, if you speak to a lot of the people from traditional background, they will not be able to work with you from a crypto asset background because you're not regulated and there are no clear rules about it. So they can't work with you. But with a clearer definition and you conform more to it, there's a greater chance for you to be able to start to work together. And that's a very important point about bringing DeFi to the real world. Singapore part, I will just shortly go through, but I want to say that Singapore has a lot of project and incentives to encourage the growth of blockchain as well as fintech. So these are the kind of like a few project and initiatives that is present in Singapore. For those of you all who came from overseas, I think you can definitely have a look at what Project Ubin and Project Guardian's about. There are also there's also like associations that you should be working with, like Singapore FinTech Associate, Blockchain Association Singapore, as well as the Global FinTech Institute. They all have very close collaborations with MAS, which is the regulator of Singapore. So I really think that if you want to work in Singapore or collaborate with different partners, they are actually very good channels to work with. I think the last point and the summary for this page is tech and regulation goes hand in hand. In fact, the success and perhaps the next way of uptake in the industry is when tech and regulation goes out at the same tandem. If you have actually tech moving out and not regulation to govern it, things can not be supported, or there will not be a greater inflow of interest into this. Yeah, real world asset I'm going to touch briefly because this is kind of like the real interest that's being pursued from an external non-crypto industry into the space. If you're looking at liquid staking, there's also an opportunity of like not just liquid staking from a blockchain perspective, but think about whether US treasuries can also be an RWA that finally goes into liquid staking, because they are also a component with principal as well as interest yield. So if you can find a way to harness this, liquid staking can take place also within the public chain in the form of RWAs. Obviously, RWAs include things like bond, properties, and gold, and different underlyings, but obviously they have to follow kind of each regulations locally. So there's a focus and discussion about that you need to take note of. Now for the last 1 minute, I'm just going to quickly go through a bit about Tronchest. This is a bit of our achievement. So other than running liquid staking on both Ethereum and BNB chain, we are also a BNB node operator ourselves. So we have experience in running our own node, other than just being kind of like a liquid staking protocol. We are awarded quite a few kind of like trophies and prizes. Most valuable award, most valuable builder, Hall of Fame on BNB chain, Protocol of the Year, and so on. But yeah, this is maybe you can find out a bit more at the end through our own website. Yeah, for the last 1 minute or so we have Queen, Bishop, and Rook. Queen basically is our stake ETH, so you can call it the Q ETH, whereas Rook is our 2-time leverage vehicle, and Bishop is our stable fund. So within this ecosystem, you can find all of these three. So it's meant for users of a different nature. Whether you're a hodler and you can choose to be using stake ETH and just get stable yield, or if you're a bit more aggressive and sophisticated type of a user, you can be going for Rook. Else, you can be taking profit and maybe putting it in a stable fund within the ecosystem in the form of Bishop. This is our roadmap, and you can actually check it out on our website. In the essence of time, thank you very much for your time, and we have a cafe on the 3rd floor, so if you have some time, please come and speak to us. Our team members are stationed over there. We have plenty of swag to also be sharing with everyone. Thanks everyone. Thank you.